And
Purging is at last at hand. The day of doom is here. All that is evil, all that are lies, your parents, your leaders, those who would call themselves your judges, those who have lied and corrupted the earth, they shall all be cleansed.
good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good day, whatever time you've tuned into Eurabiamania, thank you very much for joining us. We have a special guest with us again today, one of Sweden's great thinkers, Malcom Kyeyune. And we also have with us Ahnaf Ibn-Qais, possibly the most hated man on Substack, good friend of mine because I'm always a contrarian. Welcome, welcome, Ahnaf.
He's a
I
Muslim
pissed off the king.
terrorist.
I
Comment
pissed off the
subs-
Canadians. So I'm the most hated now because I pissed off the Canadians. And today Sir Malcolm will top it off by pissing off the Americans. So there we go.
And
Good
pissing
day
off
to
the
Sir Malcolm.
Canadians is really some I'm not your friend, bud, eh?
Oh man. Shameless self-promotion. If you wanna know what we're talking about, I for Canada Day, July the 1st, I wrote a giant thing. It's like 21,000 plus words on why Canada will die in silence. But basically, if you want to read that, go on right ahead on my Substack. But no, Sir Malcolm is here to talk about more interesting things with us. Namely, I think before the recording began, we were talking about the low energy, Great Satan birthday party, aka the 249th. I guess if you want to call it 250th, sure. But no, Sir Malcolm, what do you hear from the folks on the ground, the boys, and how the general feeling is inside the Empire of Flies right now?
I mean, I can't really pretend to have any sort of inside baseball knowledge because, I've only really talked to one guy who said it was a very low energy 4th of July, and that's kind of what he's hearing from his friends as well. But it would make sense, wouldn't it? The military parade, which we covered last time, was very sparsely attended, and that was very low energy too. And people just said, well, it's no big mystery why people didn't come, because they weren't feeling particularly enthusiastic about the American Empire right now. And why should they?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's interesting because you really get the sense of this is like France in 1940 or 1840, I should say, or like 1848 or 1847, where you have these elites and they're just kind of pushing things forward, and there's absolutely no popular enthusiasm, but they don't really see the signs. Like, they don't take that particularly seriously. Elites almost never do. They never see anything coming, because they're just kind of marinated in the sense that things will always be this way and people will always follow our orders no matter what we do.
I think that's beginning to change. It's going to be slow and you're going to have a lot of heel dragging and resistance. But I do think that a lot of Americans are, joyfully or reluctantly coming to realize the days of being the world's policeman and, the sole superpower are over. And I think that's one of the reasons people are so quiet, is nobody is sure what will happen next. Some people are trying to convince themselves, some Americans, that this is just a little bump in the road. Progress always goes upward. And, we're going to regain our rightful place, as soon as we win the war in Ukraine, teach the Chinese a lesson and look at the way we blew the hell out of the Iranians.
There's basically three religions in America. and these are all civic religions. The first one is the obvious one, which is the worship of money, wealth, status, and influence. Nobody really believes that right now, except for the elite. And like as Sir Malcolm was saying, they're mostly marinated in that stuff. That thing's on the downward cycle. I mean, most people don't believe in social mobility anymore. Then you've got the second religion, which is also on the way out, which is like the World War II religion. I think Sir Malcolm brought it up on the Rocinante podcast, which is like the World War II religion of like, democracy and human rights, whatever the fuck. Like it's a lot, they use a lot of words, but basically it comes down to Zionism and that kind of shit, basically, like supporting Israel. Uh, that one's also on the downslope. The last thing that people cling to is the obsession with the military. And like the military is like fucking Uber Eats or like DoorDash or whatever, right? And it's gonna kick the Iranians' ass and that kind of stuff. I mean, all I'm seeing right now, Sir Kenaz, is like people know that they're fucked, but they're all like gravitating towards the third civic religion, basically. That's what I'm seeing right now. The other two are hollowing out, but the last one, everyone's like, what did you say, Sir Kenaz, on one of our shows? Everyone's betting all their chips on the green 00 on the roulette table, basically.
Yeah, that's what's happened. I mean, I think one of the reasons for the fascination with the military is like a fourth American religion, I think you neglected to mention comic book movies.
Oh
Of
yeah, oh
course,
yeah,
in a comic book movie, like no, when things are at their darkest, Iron Man comes in to save the day.
new catastrophe,
Spite,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's like
yeah. That
everything
shit.
is
Okay.
finally saved at the last minute. Suddenly the cavalry come riding in out of nowhere. Gandalf
Yeah.
comes in on his way. What's it John Michael Greer says? Gandalf comes in on his, you know, Harry Potter drops the one ring into the Death Star vent. It's that whole, you know, everybody believes that like we're destined for a happy ending. And, I think that's beginning to fade. You're certainly seeing more pushback against it. That's, you're
Oh,
certainly seeing,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I think the problem is, again, this is a problem with social media. People tend to get caught up, you know, you get your recommendations based on the like posts you like and engage with. So you're likely to get people who are either like completely in agreement with you or who are completely opposed to you. That doesn't leave a lot of room for discussion. And the fact that you're in a bubble leads you to think that I must be right. Look at how many people agree with me.
Yeah, I mean, my sense though, when it comes to the military stuff, is that this is also very low energy at this point. Um, I mean, Yemen happened, like
Hmm.
it happened, and now we have kind of everyone kind of realizes, I think, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but almost everyone probably realizes that something, like the Iranians, they had these missiles that shouldn't be able to work, and they did. And the
Yeah,
US spent 20% of all of its terminal high altitude area defense missiles.
yeah, yeah,
And for 12 days of warfare. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
these will never be replaced. I mean, it's completely impossible. At this point, the US military industrial complex is just dying. Um, it's all going broke. There hasn't really been sort of investment into fixed capital in God knows how long. And in general, the industry has been cannibalizing like the remnants of all of those dead companies from the Last Supper in the 90s.
Hmm.
And now, I mean, the seed corn is almost out. There's nothing more to eat. People are realizing that, they're about to starve to death inside that industry. So again, I mean, there are some people who just go, "Oh no, like I still keep the faith burning, brother." But most people are kind of getting the signal somewhere where it's. I mean, we're kind of heading into the last phase of this stuff.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And by this stuff,
Yeah,
I just mean like the American empire and also like the American military doctrine.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, like the only thing on Substack that I'm seeing right now, and Sir Kenaz was hinting at it, I pissed everyone off. But it's just like, well, the Iranians are not going to fire back because they're a bunch of pussies and they're a bunch of cocks. That's the last argument they got left. They can't really
Yeah,
use the argument that missiles don't work because we saw missiles working, and they can't use the third argument yet. But like they're on the second argument, right? Which is that the Iranians are a bunch of pussies, right? And then
I
once
have
the Iranians show them,
always I have
yeah.
always relied on the kindness of strangers.
That's basically what this is, right? And so now
Yeah,
they're on the second step. So step one is gone. They're on the second step, and then once the Iranians kill the Americans, they're gonna go to the third step, which is that we're gonna win because we're America. That's it. That's all they got left.
yeah. I mean, the moment that you in warfare start saying like, "Oh, you don't got the nerve," like, what are you gonna do? Machine gunner, point your machine gun at me and shoot me with your machine gun. Like
Yeah.
you are really just like what the fuck are you even doing at that point? I mean, like imagine again, I've said this joke before, but imagine if you landed in Normandy and then you got a briefing saying like the Third Panzer Division is in the area, and then everyone goes, "Oh well, what is the Third Panzer Division gonna do? Are they gonna, you know, shoot us with their panzers? There's no way that would ever happen." Like, no, that's what the panzers are there for, man. That's why they built them. And
Yeah.
like it's just it's not great when you have to build your plans on the assumption that your enemy will just be trying to make you win. Because I mean, why would they try that? Like why wouldn't they be trying to win themselves?
Yeah. 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 But Sir Malcolm, white people have 20 more IQ points, and the Iranians are so corrupt and their brains have melted from all the poetry.
Yeah, I mean, should tell that to the Israelis, man.
yeah. I think that was one of one of the things that happened during that Iranian barrage is they have a ceasefire now, and that's, probably good for both countries. But Israel has had this air of invulnerability for decades. Like if the Israelis get involved, they always win. They have we have far superior firepower, trained troops, and more, and the sixth biggest air force in the world. Nobody in this region can touch us. Well, Iran just touched you.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
very clear now that, if Israel gets into a war with Iran that does not involve nukes, Israel loses the war.
yeah,
If Israel gets in a war with Iran and they break out the nukes, Israel is a pariah nation.
yeah, and I mean it's such a small nation that the Iranians could like they could finish their nuclear program out of Fordo or Pickaxe Mountain or something. And at that point, what goes around is going to come around. And the problem with being hit with a nuclear weapon is, if you're Israel, is that like the entire country is smaller than New Jersey.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a great idea. I'll just put it that way. Like it's at this point, turnabout really is fair play. And you won't really be able to stop the Iranian missiles, number one, and you won't be able to stop the Iranian nuclear program, number two. Um,
hmm
but in general, I mean, in one way, Israel isn't particularly interesting because I mean, I when I first said this, I got a lot of flack for it in various venues. But I mean, this isn't a country that's going to be around in 20 years.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No, I don't see, Israel has always had the same problem, the Ottoman had during the Crusades. It is a small country surrounded by hostile people that is dependent upon supplies, weaponry, and manpower from outside sources. If the outside sources lose interest in your cause, which within 20 years, a lot of those kids who are marching in the street for Palestine are going to be running for office. Right now, for the first time, maybe since 1948, Americans have a majority of Americans have a negative view toward Israel. That's not the glory days, like when America was 100% solidly behind Israel and, anti-Israel and pro-Palestinian stuff was really kind of a fringe belief. Those days are over. Those days are over and they're not coming back. And, if Israel doesn't understand that, take it to heart and start acting that way, they're going to find out the hard way.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely that, but there's also just a problem where, I mean, I've had this discussion with friends talking about sort of like what was the point of the 12-day war, as they're calling it. I mean, people have made a very obvious point that you can't really defeat a country from the air. Doesn't matter if you're using airplanes or missiles, like you can't actually sort of wreck a country and make it non-viable through aerial bombardment, which is completely true. The problem for Israel is just that it's a non-viable country inherently. And we can even put aside the questions of like, will Europeans support this, which is a fairly interesting I mean, because that question has to do with like the post World War II ideology, which is a very fascinating subject. But I mean, like the country is going fucking broke. They can't replace the munitions they're using, like the Hermes drones and so on, because they can't get them from America, number one, and they don't have any money to buy new stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, there's this big struggle right now where like the finance ministry is saying, "Oh, sorry, you're getting zero money for replacements for this stuff."
Yeah.
They just don't have the money. And then you can add to that the fact that like the internal demographics, it's just like this insane situation where a growing part of the population is just welfare dependent, and they really want like the army to fight and annex more and more parts of the Middle East from the Muslims, but they don't want to serve in the military themselves, and they don't want to work. Then so you have these people who are kind of losing out politically, like the secular like liberal Jews, for being told, on one hand, fuck off, like you're not going to have any political influence in this country. And then also, please show up for your third or fourth like mobilization in this big war that's going to last forever. And it's just like this country has like what the Iranians why the Iranians have a chance of, winning, quote unquote, any sort of air war is just that they would not have to do what the Israelis are trying to do, which is engineer some sort of like ex nihilo collapse. The Iranians only have to speed up a process of decay and disintegration that was already happening in Israel before October 7th.
Yeah. That's basically what it is. It's like, you use your missiles and, okay, what was the point of the 12-day war? Well, the point of the 12-day war was to put the Americans and the Israelis on notice that you're out of ammo, bro, and we're just going to rush you. Like, what's that, like, cowboy comic? It's like, the guy's got a revolver, but the revolver's empty, and then the other guy's like, oh, he's empty, rush him, right? That's basically what this is now. It's like 15 to 20% of the THAAD interceptors. I mean, the Iranians have basically said that, look, it's not even a ceasefire. We're just like, we're doing a halt, And if you fuck with us again, we'll fuck you up, basically, right? My own hunch is that the reason they took this is because a lot of people offered to send stuff over. So the Chinese, the Pakistanis, the Russians, everyone just was like, Iran will send you stuff over. And Iran's like, you know what? This is actually a good deal, right? For us. Israel's not going to get their stuff replenished, right? The Americans going to send them like whatever fucking expired shit they have left. And in order to do so, they're going to stop sending stuff to Ukraine. We are going to get all this other stuff, right? So once we go round two, man, advantage Iran, right? And so I think the thing with the 12th Day War is that I don't see it as a 12th Day War. I'm just like, this was the beginning of the war. America's in the war, and it's just going to be like within the next several days and weeks, we're just going to get back into it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, time is on Iran's side, and time is definitely not on Israel's side. So it's hard to imagine like what I don't think anyone in Israel. I think if you administer some sort of truth serum, and it wouldn't even have to be a particularly strong one, and you got like Benjamin Netanyahu off the record, he would just tell you, like straight up, without any sort of qualms. Sorry, there's no plan here. Like, there's no
Yeah.
idea for long-term survival. And in fact, I mean, he would probably even go farther than that and say, like, there's never been a fucking plan, bro. But there definitely isn't one today. Like, it's just you kind of keep going until you can't anymore. And that is the definition of a regime crisis when all your efforts at, keeping going have come to naught, and you just can't keep going anymore. And Israel is pretty steadily heading towards that point. And I mean, America is pretty steadily heading towards that point. Um, it's gonna be a couple of years of reckoning for everyone in the West.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like in America I've said this on quite a few Eurabiamania episodes. We're basically at the 89, 90 stage of, and now I'd say more to be more precise about 1988. We haven't lost our Warsaw Pact yet, but we're losing it fast. It's because, I mean, we are seeing more countries that were under America's circle of influence moving toward China, moving towards Russia, trying to distance themselves from America, and much to our economic, hurt, dispensing themselves of American like securities.
Oh,
yeah,
But Sir Kenaz, don't worry about it. Didn't you see? It's the one big beautiful bill. Trump's gonna make the country great again by like cutting Medicaid for everyone, and then like putting in an additional $40 billion in ICE, right? The country's being reborn, Sir Kenaz. Liberation Day.
Yeah, reborn in the sense of aborted, maybe, but it's like no,
I'm having too much fun. I'm having too much fun. Oh my gosh, so many felt for it again awards, man. Holy shit. And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
and these like and these rubes, they're like, you know what they tell me? They're like, oh, enough. ICE has a budget of 2 billion, but now they're gonna get 45 billion. Therefore, Trump is going to increase the size of ICE by like 10, 20 fold. I just laughed when he said that, right? And then it's like, and then the mass deportations will finally begin. I'm like, bro, the fucking guy just flat out on a, on what was it? He did a rally and he just flat out said, "We're gonna give amnesty to these people." Haven't you figured it out yet, bros? You're the fucking sucker.
yeah. I mean, the thing that's really, I mean, I used to be back in the day, and in fact, from like 2016 to like 2022 or something. I mean, I was a guy, I would describe myself as pro-Trump.
Mm,
And I spent a lot of time and energy like based on the premise that the movement towards sort of right-wing populism and so on, like that was a real thing. Like I invested a good part of my life into that.
mm,
And, might as well have bought a bunch of shit coins because, the rug pull mechanism was kind of the same. But
yeah, yeah.
but all jokes aside, like the thing about Trump, it's it just gets kind of tiring after a while because if you
Mm,
if you really want to argue that like this guy, he really has it, I mean, you really kind of have to do this um, post facto timeline construction. So, for example, take Elon Musk.
Yeah, yeah.
When Elon Musk is brought in, like the if you're like a guy, if you're loyal, or if you have like this idea that Trump is this historical figure that will sort of loom large in the imagination for hundreds of years to come or whatever. I mean, I kind of agree with that partly in the sense that people will probably remember who Boris Yeltsin was in like 100 years, but it won't be as some sort of big hero or anything. But like Elon Musk, okay, so he comes in. Trump takes like $250 million or whatever from the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's like, wow, this is so genius because he's now like leveraging the power of the new technocrats, like the people like Elon Musk. He's he's fixed Twitter, and I mean, by fixing Twitter, I think we mean he's made it worse than it was during like the libtard Reich. I would welcome Jack back any day because at that point, like, the site would fucking work. But I mean,
Mm.
he went in and he fired all the Karens and so on. So I mean, props to him. And he slept in the office and all of that stuff. I mean, A for effort, D for execution, or something like that. But like this guy shows up to work. You can't take that away from him. And I'm not a big Elon Musk fan or anything, but you know, you kind of have to give the devil his due.
Mhm.
And so like he has Tesla, he has SpaceX and all of these other companies. So he
Mhm.
is really a captain of industry of sorts, even if you don't have to
Mhm.
like him. So okay, Trump is a genius. He's leveraging like these captains of industry. And then he has this spectacular falling out with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And then if you're part of the congregation, you immediately have to turn around and say, "Oh, this was the plan from the beginning." He was playing 12-dimensional chess because Elon Musk has always been just a retard, like an idiot. And Trump knew that Elon Musk was fake and a fraud, and so he brought him in as a sacrificial lamb. And it's like I wrote this thing in Unheard where it's like I basically made a point because now Elon is talking about like backing Thomas Massey and so on in these showdowns. Trump is trying to primary Massey, and Elon Musk is like, this truce with Trump world, it only lasted less than a month, and now the war is back on.
Mhm.
And so he might be inserting himself into politics again, but this time donating not to Republicans who want to fight the Democrats, but to Republicans who want to fight other Republicans.
Mhm.
And he's probably being courted in secret by the Democrats as well. I mean, it would be malpractice for them not to do so. But
Mhm.
but I made the argument. I don't think like it shouldn't really be controversial, and yet it was, where I said that okay, after massively overestimating Elon Musk, the right is now saying, oh, this guy, like he's like my 12-year-old could run a company better than him. Like he's just an idiot. Like he's never done anything. And it's like, number one, you were the one glazing his nuts a month ago. The only thing that changed between now and then is that, Trump doesn't like him anymore. Like that's the only thing that's changed. And also, it's not true that your 12-year-old could run SpaceX better than Elon Musk. I hate the fucking guy. Look, like I really do. I have him like blocked on Twitter because I just hate seeing his stupid fucking posts, my timeline constantly. But the
Mhm.
man isn't a complete like moron.
Mhm.
He's the world's richest guy. And if he says, yeah, I'm gonna like involve myself in a sort of Republican civil war, like you can't say, oh, sure, like what is he even gonna do? Like that's you're just going from, seriously overestimating him to seriously underestimating him.
Hmm.
And I got some comment like, "Oh, thanks for the laugh, Malcolm. Like I really needed that. Like Elon Musk could ever do anything."
Did he say this
It's
on X?
what?
He said this on Zitter, a company
Uh,
that this guy bought for $22 billion. I mean, it's like, could he do anything? Well, I don't know if maybe one of you guys has a spare, like, 22 billion floating around. I certainly don't. I
oh
mean,
yeah, yeah,
what can he do? That's just like, as Ahnaf said, what he can do is he has a lot of money. That gives you a certain degree of power. When you have a lot in the Elon Musk sense, that gives you a lot of power. You know, if
Hmm.
the guy was in, like, the one I've heard is, well, Elon's an idiot because the only reason his like companies stay afloat is because of all kinds of government contracts. It's like, so I can just go get a government contract and the government will give me $1 billion, right? I mean, there's a
yeah,
certain degree of intelligence that's required in being able to do that, along with, it's not, that's a big problem with like politics in general, is the idea that your opponent is both evil and stupid. It's like
yeah,
you're fighting Rick Moranis from like Spaceballs.
yeah. And I mean, in this case, it's like it's just if I was still on the Trump train, and this is kind of why I can't really, you know, why I'm this guy who gets kicked out of every single what was that saying? Like, I would never want to join a party that would have me. Well, I mean, for me, it's kind of the opposite, where if I join a
Hmm.
party, like I discover that no, sorry, they won't have me. Like, because
Yeah.
my argument as a pro-Trump guy, and this would be unpopular, obviously, and I know so because I've ran the experiment. My argument would just be take this guy seriously. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's the world's richest guy. He has a big axe to grind, and he's not like this sort of completely dissolute, cynical guy who doesn't care about anything. Like he has ideals. He has ideas he is able to pursue, even at great personal cost.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you can't just say, oh well, there's no like money in it for him. Yeah, well, I mean, he's already proven a capability to just say, fuck it, YOLO, like Leroy Jenkins, let's go. So he
Yeah.
could say that again. And if he does say that, like he's gonna make a mess of the midterms. And like he can team up with someone like Thomas Massie or Rand Paul, and they have political instincts that can compensate for Elon Musk's
Hmm.
obvious lack of political instinct. So like it's not a good team. But again, like if you run into, and I have done this many times, you run into like a place where if you try to criticize or no, not even criticize, if you try to say like the plane is heading for the mountain, we need to pull up, like you basically become the enemy. Because no, dude, like the plane they're calling it like the best course that's ever been laid. Like this is a
Hmm.
beautiful plane, it's heading in a beautiful direction, and like you're only saying it's gonna crash into the mountain because you're jealous. And at that point, like over time, with age comes wisdom, supposedly. So over time, you kind of learn that when people start talking like that, the only thing you can do is you can go and you can open the door and you can grab a parachute and you can jump out of the plane before it crashes. But trying to prevent the plane from crashing or trying to save the passengers when like they themselves want to crash, it never works out.
hmm hmm Yeah, I mean, we're seeing like those memes floating of like, all the red states, not the red states, but the red counties. They're like, "Hey, libtards, watch this," and then shoots himself in the head, cuts off his own healthcare or whatever. I mean,
Yeah, I
America's
mean,
cooked, man. Yeah, yeah,
the thing is, again, like my sort of really big, where I went from being kind of, uh, I mean, just kind of exhausted with like all the, what do they say in Texas? Like all hat and no cattle stuff from
yeah.
Trump, to like outright antipathy was just like this tariff stuff. Because again, as I said the last time, that's when it became clear we had gone from, oh yeah, well, we're just kind of incompetent, like doing the sort of understandable neglect to like basically malicious neglect. Um, and
Yeah.
right now, like the big beautiful bill, I mean, it's really interesting. Maybe like trying to expecting anything is just being too harsh because like this system can't be fixed. And I
Yeah,
never
yeah, yeah.
thought it could. But I mean, I guess back when I was a bit more naive, my hope was that rather than fixing things, we could have like a controlled descent, like when a plane runs out of fuel or whatever, and you have this, you try to glide down to an open field or whatever.
Yeah.
But that just wasn't what was happening. Like that's not the path that anyone in politics chose.
hmm hmm Yeah. I mean, they're not really choosing much of anything, Sir Malcolm. They're just going with the vibes, right? It's a bunch of lemmings running off the cliff, right? Uh, and they get angry at you for pointing it out, but it's just like, this is the behavior of cattle, right? So when you call them Zog cattle, I mean, it's not it's not an inaccurate descriptor, right? So like they had that thing where a bunch of people were looking at the bill. One of them noticed that the bill, the tax on tips or whatever the fuck, no tax on tips, like one of the things Trump got to get elected. It only, I think, the bill only says up to 2028 and only on cash receipts, right? So it's not even like a real thing, right? Because very few people pay with cash these days. And then they've got all this other crap in there. Some people are cheering about the 45 billion. I'm gonna say right now the extra 40 billion is just gonna fill up the pockets of people. It's not gonna actually like increase the amount of people getting recruited into ICE. And other than that, what else? I mean, he's gonna give amnesty. He's gonna bring in all the Indians for the H-1B. I mean, I'm just laughing at the whole thing, man. I mean, these guys are on Team Death to America, right? They're not gonna admit it. They're not gonna admit it, but they are on Team Death to America, right?
Yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
the indirect sense, but yeah, that's what's going on right now.
yeah, like the 40 billion to ICE. That's another one of those awkward points where like if you say something in terms of like, okay, the plane has laid in a course for a side of the mountain, like we should adjust the course. Like people
Yeah.
start screaming at you for being like anti-plane. But if you go from, I don't know what the budget is, like 2 billion or whatever to 40 billion, and you do so in like the span of 2 years, that is like trying to sort of ascend from a depth of 1,000 feet as a diver to the
hmm
surface by just swimming upwards. You're gonna die, bro. Like you
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
going to you're gonna get all of these air bubbles sort of popping
Oh, but
up
Sir
in your
Malcolm, we're America.
bloodstream.
We can't die. Like Sir Malcolm, we're
Yeah.
America. We can't die. That's their fucking reply.
I mean, they don't really have a reply, I would say. I mean, they
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think the smartest people would say like it's too late to think about these things. And to that
Yeah,
the real reply would be, well, then it's too late to do anything, right?
yeah.
Because injecting all of that money when you already have this kind of like Keystone Cops level of administration and you're doing all of these purges of the bureaucracy, I mean, sure, if you had some sort of captain of industry, like if this was instead of ice, it was like making rockets, and you had Elon Musk on board, maybe it could work. Maybe like you would really have to put a lot of faith in your captain of industry, but it's possible. Like these sorts of big reforms have been done. If we think about them in revolutionary situations, like if you put all your chips on the roulette table on a guy like Lazare Carnot in France, and you told him, okay, just you, former like engineer captain in the French army who has now been promoted because we've gotten rid of all the nobles or they're emigrated. We want you, Lazare Carnot, to fix the army. Like you would be walking out of that casino a billionaire. But I mean, there's no guy like that. And yeah, people sort of idolize Stephen Miller, but I don't think this is really like a task for a politician, even. Like if you're gonna expand the bureaucracy like this, you really need a very special, very kind of unique kind of like captain of industry, entrepreneur, commissar, or representative on mission almost. You need a Carnot or a Saint Just or someone like that, and those people don't grow on trees. Otherwise, and this has already happened with ICE, all that's going to happen is, as you said, like a huge tsunami of corruption.
Yeah.
You're going to be paying like $10,000 for a toilet seat.
Yeah.
Cleveland Blakemore just entered the waiting room.
Nice. Get Sir Cleveland in, but I'll just quickly make a comment. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's just funny to watch the whole thing, like Sir Malcolm. It's just like, oh, because we've increased the funding by 20-fold, ICE is going to have 20-fold more people, and therefore the mass deportations would begin. This is childish. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is fucking childish, right? This is not how the real world works. This is not how, like, I always make the point that if you want to know whether a country can police its own borders, you have to look at what military force projection it has, right? Whether it's overseas or elsewhere, right? And if it doesn't have that, like the reason I don't take the French seriously when they say that they're going to kick all the migrants out is because, bro, you're getting kicked out of Africa right now. If you can't beat them over there, you can't beat them inside France, right? And so, like, it's the same thing. It's like, well, America spent the last 20 plus years in the fucking sandbox getting its ass kicked. And now it's like, okay, well, the Untermensch black and bounds, we're going to kick you out. That's not going to happen, man. Like, what's going to actually happen is things are going to get worse and worse, right? Like you were saying, like with Sengoku America, Sir Malcolm, like you pick up the phone, you make the call, nobody's there, and then you got to get things more local. And what's going to happen is, the warlords, the cartels, the criminals, they're going to carve up the country into their little fiefdoms. That's basically what's going to happen. Neo-feudalism is the future. It's not going to be like this, oh my gosh, we just increased the funding for ICE, therefore 20 times more people will show up and then they'll save the nation or whatever. Fuck. Like that's not what's actually going to happen. I mean, if Trump thinks that he can just like, paramilitary this shit or whatever, that's not going to happen, man. Like people are just going to run with the money and go away, right? Like, oh, well, come to this agency because the funding has increased. Yeah, you know who's going to come to it? It's going to be all the fucking fat cats and the corrupt bureaucrats who just pocket the money for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing, I kind of quibble with the term neo-feudalism here for the simple reason that it's kind of like it's a bit too precious in the sense that
fair enough.
I mean, like the problem with neo-feudalism is that it's neither hot nor cold in the sense that I mean, we're going to get something that's actually just neo, like something that's new.
Got it.
I mean, this is kind of related to the one thing I'm really kind of interested in right now as sort of a thinker, quote unquote, but just America's never really experienced like the cycle of civilization in full, unlike the old world. Like everywhere else in the world has experienced that many, many times. America in the sort of, European conception has not.
Hmm.
And so in Europe, you have Rome, and Rome is just a collection of like buildings built upon ruins, ruins which have been built upon ruins, which were themselves built upon ruins, and so on, going back like, I think, like literally 3,000 years.
Hmm. Hmm.
Something like that, at least. Like Rome is way older than, 0 BC, obviously. I mean,
Hmm.
but I think it's older than the historical records.
Yeah.
And you know, Rome has had many sort of shapes. Like it's
Hmm.
been this 1.5 million city, and then it's gone down to like 20,000, and now it has 1.5 million or 2 million, or however many people live in Rome today.
Hmm. Hmm.
Good
And
morning.
good morning.
I'm
Good
sorry. I
morning.
apologize.
No, no,
No
no.
worries, Sir
We're just
Cleveland.
very happy to have you here. The four horsemen of doom are together again.
To keep the story short, I had one sewer main inside of a quarter mile, and the excavator just had to avoid that sewer main. That's all. There's no way that you could have hit it, and he hit it. And luckily, he's bonded and insured, so this time, I can get the damage fixed. But some of the workmen here, in Appalachia, I don't even know. I don't know how they got like that. You still there?
We're here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
That sucks. Yeah. No, no, happy to have you here, Sir Cleveland. But Sir Malcolm was talking about the Rome. I'll go ahead, Sir Malcolm, finish your point.
Yeah. So basically, what I was saying was just if you live in the old world, um, any place you live, it's kind of like this collection of ruins underneath like the buildings you're using right now. And
Got it.
America
Yeah.
is kind of different in the sense that like the American patterns of uh, like this, whenever I talk about this, it kind of first appears like this really weird sort of tangent. But if you think about how sort of American municipalities um, actually function day to day,
Hmm.
Americans have this sort of neurosis over like the frontier is closed, the frontier is closed, and we've kind of lost our way since there's no, land out west we can go to. I mean, in one sense, yes, that's true, but that's only on the surface level. In terms of how American society is structured, it's just still like the frontier still exists. It's just internal. So an American municipality, like what will usually happen, like how they actually develop, is that, a developer will come in and they'll say, we're going to build this new development, like this new suburb or whatever, and we're going to draw the like the sewer line and the water pipes and so on, and we're going to pave the road. And you, the municipality, won't have to pay for any of this infrastructure. All
Hmm.
you'll have to do once we're done with it is you're going to have to pay the maintenance for it, right?
Hmm.
Which is a good
Hmm.
deal. And yeah, it is a good deal, at least in theory. The problem is what happens when all of that infrastructure gets old enough that it needs replacement. And then you have this massive, hydrogen bomb of sudden costs. Um, and American municipalities basically never planned for this. And so you kind of have this Ponzi scheme of development where the only way to keep the infrastructure you have going is to is to develop more and more land in order to get more injections of cash, like a bigger tax base, so you can use the new developments to pay for the replacement of the infrastructure on the old. And this works as long as you have constant growth. And the
Hmm.
moment you don't have constant growth, it's like any sort of pyramid scheme, it just collapses. And I mean, that's not how things work in the old world. Like if you think about the city where I live, Uppsala, here growth, it's like rain or something. It's a predicament, even like an annoying problem that you sometimes have to deal with. Like there are good sides to it, sure. Like we love some rain, folks, but not too much and not on, red days or whatever. But it's just it's not built into the foundation, like the sort of DNA of the city. Like if you're on the city council here, like growth, you kind of wish it wouldn't happen because then things would be simpler. And so why am I bringing this up? Just because like the real cultural revolution that's going to happen in America, that will have to happen for just reasons of practicality, is that Americans will have to develop like a relationship to the land that isn't reliant on being different from the old world. Because in the old world, I mean, Uppsala, it's been here for 1,000 years or whatever. And it's just, you build your house upon the ruins of the houses of earlier generations.
Malcolm,
Americans,
you seem to have a really good grasp of history. I was listening to you on Rome. I mean, that's pretty impressive. But do you honestly believe that having reached the 250-year mark now, Sir John Glubb, William Gibbons, Spengler, it's usually around 200 years. They're at the 250-year mark. Very impressive, very good performance, amazing. Do you really think America is going to have a reform and it's going to move on?
I mean, no, not in the sense if we by reform mean, the politicians passing a bill or whatever and then just fixing society. Absolutely not. I mean, I'm talking about a reform here in the sense that, laws in Rome were reformed so that, like, if you saw an empty building in Rome, like you could just squat in it and it became yours
But
because they
wasn't that
had
part
so
of the fall
many.
of Rome? That was part of the fall of Rome, is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
there
yeah,
were a lot of buildings and people, for some reason, were no longer in them. And so even
yeah.
squatters from the outside wandered into the city, which became very easy to get into, even before it was sacked. And they just squat, take up residence somewhere. The
Yeah,
men at
that
the
that
time knew something was wrong. The men at the time who lived in Rome, the wiser heads, they knew, something's really wrong. We have people drifting in and out. It's kind of hard to say who's a Roman anymore or even know who's in the building next door to you. Some of them realized something was wrong.
yeah.
Fellini showed, the condition of Rome near the end. It was a brilliant movie showing just how decadent it was. Was it
Mhm.
Satyricon?
Satyricon.
Yeah, I mean, it was messed up. But although most people, of course, didn't know anything was wrong, just like America, some of the wiser heads knew. I think Rome technically has fallen already in this condition. Nothing but orgies and feasts
I
all
think
day.
I think the point Sir Malcolm is making is that there's going to be a point that is crossed after which people are just like, homelessness, hey, that's not such a bad idea, right? We got a bunch of ruins, let's just make use of the land, right? Like nowadays, whether it's not just Americans, Canadians, and many other
Exactly.
Westerners
Yeah.
in the new world have the idea that, constant development, upward and onward,
Right.
houses, then apartments, then skyscrapers. Eventually they're going to have to build on top of the ruins. It's not going to
Yeah,
be, I think that's what he was talking about,
But
namely
isn't
that
yeah. I
that's
mean,
this
part of
new
the
real.
decay phase? The
yeah,
decay phase
yeah.
is always like that. But when Malcolm said a cultural revolution, I thought, yeah, they're the people like the people in Satyricon. They don't have a cultural revolution in them. They're not going
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
anything.
yeah. I mean, I'm actually like we don't disagree. What I'm saying is just if you live in Europe, like on some level, you know that what happened in Satyricon and decline and fall, that's just an ordinary Tuesday. That's like life goes on. It's not the end of the world. Like the Swedish national anthem. is, I mean, there's a line in it like du tonar på minnen från fornstora dagar när ärat ditt land flög över jorden. What this means in English is it's referring to Sweden, and it's basically saying like um, the once upon a time Sweden was great, and some of us still remember it. It's not saying upwards and onwards. It's saying like the good times were here and now they're gone. But I mean,
When it get bad enough, people don't even realize there was a good time or that the current times are bad times. They lose the capacity for self-perception. They don't seem to register anything anymore. They're like just blank-eyed zombies. And you can always tell that it's definitely the end because the whole population has that lack of the ability to look at something 10 or 20 years ago and think, yeah, wasn't it better then than now? So, no, they keep talking about evolution and progress, even as the place is falling apart around them. San Francisco, you can't walk down the street without stepping in human waste. And they don't know really. They think, well, yeah, that's the way it is this year or something. They don't notice this is a graph. It's one of Ahnaf's statistical graphs, and you can see the right side is just headed straight downhill. And those people, when you think, the only thing that can help them is a cultural revolution, a revolution all over the society, for they to go back to excellence and meritocracy and sharp self-criticism, but they won't. They don't have it in them.
oh yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Lately, I've concluded there's a biological factor here, and our minds are too primitive quite to understand ourselves, but we seem to have a built-in self-destruct around the 200-year mark. And just because some of the humans, maybe like me or Kenaz or Ahnaf, just because they know something ain't right, may not be able to put my finger on it, but this is not what we had before. What we had before was in better shape than this. That still doesn't mean that we're not part of the decline ourselves in many ways.
yeah, I mean,
The only way I was thinking last night, the only reason I look so good in the IT workplace is when you compare me with everybody else. But that doesn't mean I'm not part of the decline myself. It's just that something has stuck in me, the process, the approach, which appears to get incredible results, but that's relevant compared to what, 1950s when they wrote most of the basic operating systems that would drive the whole world in IT. So, I'm just kind of one of those people you see peering through the ruins after it's all fallen, and you think, yeah, that guy's clever. He can still do a few things, but still, the overarching theme is almost everybody has lost the plot.
yeah,
Well,
and again, my point here, I'm not disagreeing, and I'm not saying there's going to be like a cultural revolution to save the current American civilization. I'm saying that, the end of the current American civilization, what Americans are going to learn is that like this is just how history is. Because if you live in Europe, you know that this is just how history is. Like civilizations and sort of empires and eras, they end and things can go to shit or whatever. But you're still like, if you're living in Rome or if you're living in Uppsala, like you're living on the bones of your ancestors. And that
Yeah,
is
that's very good. Yeah, that's it.
like if you think about a city like Detroit, I mean, Detroit, to anyone that's not sort of stuck in the current mode of thinking of like perpetual progress, Detroit is not a mystery. Detroit is the most natural fucking thing in the world. Okay, you built a great city, and now much of the city is abandoned, and like there are ruins and wild animals and so on in the outskirts. Okay, that's happened 10,000
Yeah,
fucking times before.
you would know
What's
enough.
the
It
big
is. It's that bad. But there's
one
nothing more post-apocalyptic than Detroit.
one
yeah,
thing I think where we're going, instead of a cultural revolution, I might use the words cultural rethinking. America, as Malcolm is pointing out, if you're not from Dixie, we've never experienced defeat in war. We had a Great Depression. We've never had cities burning. We've never had the kind of like stuff that is, a part of everybody else's history. We got complacent because, we had a really good 200-year run. And with the current generations, we had an unprecedented two-generation economic boom.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that makes a huge difference. Americans are going to have to rethink what it means to be America, not America, greatest country in the world, not America, the empire. Britain went through the same thing when they lost their empire.
Yeah, and
It's
see, that's why I bring up this stuff about like urban development, because I'm not making some sort of narrow technical point. I'm basically saying that what is a kind of normal assumption in Europe, in a place like Uppsala, it says this city is going to be here 1,000 years from now. And in America, what you have instead is just this kind of like if you think about fucking big box retailers, to take like the most sort of everyday example you can imagine, like these big box stores. I mean, the entire strategy of big box stores is that you build like this big box, hence the name, that's like the most worthless building ever. And then you maintain it, like you operate it for 4 or 5 years, and then you just kind of abandon it and you build another big box store. Because the frontier in terms of, yeah, like new states to incorporate or whatever, that is closed. But the frontier in the sense where like Americans are still kind of this, um, you know, almost like not exactly nomadic, but like very temporary. Like if you build a building, it's because it's like useful here in the present and it's not going to be around for very long. And you can always like upgrade to something else. Like that thinking is going to go away when like the current American civilization collapses. Because I mean, you won't be able to maintain that sort of thinking because you won't be able to build a new big box store every 4 years and just like leave all the infrastructure, the sewer lines, the parking lots, and so on, like leave them to rot. There won't be resources, just as there weren't resources in Rome in like 500 AD to build a bunch of new public works. Like if you wanted to build a new building, you went to like the ruin of some old building built 400 years ago, and you sort of scavenged all the stone.
I
yeah,
think
you'll
And that
you're
was your new
gonna.
building.
yeah, you'll hear people in America say, the Christians tore down the Colosseum after they came to power, when what actually happened to the marble of the Colosseum is the Romans scavenged the marble to make buildings.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Christian thing. It wasn't, Christians tearing down idolatrous statues. It was basically, we have this big abandoned ruin sitting in the middle of, the city. I need marble for my building. They've got marble there. I'm going to go to the ruin and take it because, with 25,000 people, there's nobody here to enforce like any kind of like a rule that I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Lewis Mumford in I forget the name of the book, The Machine Man, and he wrote that in early society, the resources are distributed by agency. People have executive agency in the brain, and they think, I'm going to dig this up, transport this marble there, and we're going to build this magnificent building. Take a look, I've got the drawing in my hand. Everything is a directed activity from executive agency in the human brain. But the declining civilizations at their other end, they're opportunists. They think, I need rocks, I need bricks. Well, look over there. There's a big pile of rubble and an old, I don't know what it was or what it used to be, Colosseum. I can source that. But there's no plan. There's just the opportunity of the moment that you see that you should take advantage of. And that's the real difference between a real civilization that's moving forward and people just trying to survive in the ruins of that after it's over.
I think
Yeah.
America's moved into that situation, to
I
that
agree.
Yeah, it's already
mindset for
I
happening.
agree. I
decades. You
agree.
know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we no
Yeah.
longer, you know, when my parents and my grandparents bought stocks, it was as a long-term investment. You held on to them and you benefited from the dividends. Today, you know, companies thought in terms of where will we be 5 years from now? Where will we be 10 years from now?
Yeah.
Today, you know, our quote, best and brightest, unquote, can only think in terms of the next quarterly report.
And they look
You know,
good.
think
They're the
in
ones
three
that look
month
good.
chunks.
Yeah. The stockholders vote them in because they think, compared to the other guys trying to lead us, this guy's starting to look good, and he plans a couple months ahead at most. And or what's necessary today to bring up stock values. And yeah, for most of the population who decide who to vote in and vote out, they pick the guys that are kind of short-winded and short-sighted, just like them. And how do you work around that if the people vote for leaders who rarely think ahead more than a week?
Yeah. I mean, what I would say to that earlier point being made, which I think is very like it's a really like insightful point where, early civilizations, they are governed by like the conscious executive function of the brain, and civilizations in decline, and during dark ages, it's just adaptation, it's just reaction, it's just this more like instinctual blind thing. I mean, one could make the further point that if we think about like the limitations of human cognition,
Yeah.
I mean, evolution is a blind process. I wouldn't say like it's a bad process, like it doesn't produce results. I think uh, evolution is quote unquote a smarter process than trying to do things using your brain, because like the human brain, I mean, we've kind of done a lot of amazing things with it, but it's a very limited instrument. And as John Michael Greer likes to say, it's like it was built for being able to tell the difference between a bush and a tiger that's stalking you, and between a fruit that's ripe and a fruit that's overripe or rotten. And then we've kind of pressed it into a lot of other things. But in terms of if you wanted to have in 500 years like an American people who actually had a sort of if you forgive the world, a sustainable relationship to their own environment.
When you said evolution, Malcolm, it does imply that there is a capability to respond to feedback and adapt. I think that's the way you were using the word. And, that's the whole idea behind free markets. If people are free and can decide what's best for their needs and collectively what's best for other people's needs so they get money out of them, the free market can find its way to better solutions than people could have come up with on central committees. And it has
It's
worked brilliantly.
basically yeah, I mean it's basically wisdom of the crowds for dummies. But like
Yeah.
the thing with that though, Sir Cleveland, is that you can't have wisdom of the crowds if everyone is anarchic to begin with, right? So
Or the crowd
that's
just isn't that bright and doesn't have any wisdom anymore. It all
yeah, well, like
breaks
Steve
down.
Keen, yeah. Yeah, like there's an economist called Steve Keen, and Steve Keen spent like 40 years of his life. He basically shows that supply and demand, where like in the textbooks, demand is downward sloping, supply is upward sloping. That's just wrong. Um,
Right.
Demand and supply can take whatever shape you want. Basically, it can be like you can have upward sloping demand, you can also have downward sloping supply, and every other shape in between. But basically,
As
there's nothing quote unquote rational about like market pricing. It's just that we kind of it's one of
yeah,
those religions we believe in, not just in the non-West, but also in the West. But
yeah,
like it, like as Sir Malcolm loves to say, there's no fucking plan, bros.
yeah. As IQ has dropped sharply, 2 deviations, it's now widely accepted. Some fringe people would grant me 3 deviations, which is what I think. This talk about market forces and systems, it's going to fall by the wayside. People are not bright enough anymore. to really react and plan ahead for anything. And socialism and communism just start to look really good. As intelligence has dropped, and I'm not some secret agenda talking about the black and brown people. I'm talking about the white middle class in America. They've declined to the point where you can see they're in no better shape than anybody else. They were in a position to do more about this, but they didn't. USAID was ripping off $1.8 trillion in a single day by putting up a fake website that took about 10 minutes to make. And they didn't notice anything was wrong. So when those people clearly show they have no leadership qualities, they can't take action anymore and fix these things. They've had 50 years while this looting was going on and done nothing. They're just staring off into space, watching porn and playing with video games, and it's all to no end, you know. I believe enough that the future is going to be communist and socialist out of the ruins because that's all people can understand. A big boss will tell
I,
us
I don't
what to
even
do.
think I don't even think that's gonna happen because like Sir Malcolm was saying, it's gonna be something new. I think that's what's gonna like communism is basically a sister ideology of Christianity, right? And the three big ideologies of the 20th century, liberalism, communism, and fascism. You could also put in nationalism slash populism in there, but basically these guys they lived in the world of growth, right? But
Yeah.
we are now in the world of shrinkage. We're not in the world of growth, right? So it's gonna be something new. It's not gonna be any of these things because like one of the things with communism is that it tries to put a telos on history, right? And it's very easy to put a telos on history when everything around you is growing. And Sir Malcolm was eloquently putting it the point about the big box stores and all this other shit, right? But like if that's not happening and you're just scavenging, I mean, you're not gonna put a telos on history, right? And if you don't put a telos on history, you're not going to be doing all this other stuff, right? So it's gonna be something new. I think he said that it's not gonna be I use the term neo-feudalism just because it's easy for people to understand, but I also acknowledge the fact that it's not, as a descriptive term, it might not be perfect to like encapsulate what we're going to see.
The people who've said that there's elements of fascism in Trump, there's always elements of fascism in the great man, in the cult of personality that comes at the end. And it's desperation when people say, I don't know what's going on or anything. I don't even know how to stop it in my backyard. I'm going to vote for this great man, and this super genius is going to fix everything magically, just like Not Sure in Idiocracy. He's going to make the crops grow again. He's going to get back to taco fixins. He's going to put toilet water on plants, and everything's going to be okay and go back to the way it used to be because even though we don't know how to fix it, we do know it used to be better. And Trump is literally the living symbol of that style of thinking when you just say, I don't know what's happening anymore, but I'm voting for Trump. He's going to fix it all. And for one man, he has been doing pretty good. He's been doing good. But like Marcus Aurelius, eventually he's going to hit the roadblocks and there's going to be a slowdown and suddenly it's not just going to be signing executive orders. There's going to be more to it than that. He's going to find the people themselves can't implement these ideas. If we bring industry and manufacturing back, who's going to run these things? You talk to the average American, they can barely read and write. They can't talk in complete sentences. They can't hold a conversation. Who's going to work in the new factories? And who's going to be the manager over those factories to bring back that excellence? The population they're thinking of was one of the best educated on earth. When that bullet went into
Yeah,
President Kennedy's head, we had some of the brightest people on earth walking around the street in small town USA, and they made good decisions and they had good judgment, sound judgment, and all added together in the millions. The whole nation had sound judgment and did things that were forward looking, and they were that was when we had things that truly were progressive. I don't think that
yeah,
stuff's coming
yeah,
back.
yeah, but like the point is deeper than that. But like okay, so if you survey Americans, right, and you can go through all the survey data. Sometimes I think Gallup does it, sometimes Pew does it. There's all these people who do it. 80+% of Americans agree with the following statement. We should have manufacturing production and these are jobs reshored, right? And then if you ask them, okay, you yourself personally, would you work these jobs? Would your life become better? Would you be willing to work these jobs? The number falls to like 15 to 20%, right? And I'm 100% sure that out of that 15 to 20%, probably quite a few of them are in their 50s and 60s, meaning that they're actually not physically fit, right? Like they're simply too old. They won't be able to like, pour the steel and be like 20, 30 years old to do that, right? So, and you have a similar thing happening with like all these other like fucking issues, right? So immigration, right? Immigration. Oh my gosh, we're getting invaded or whatever, right? I saw the data for the UK. In the UK, I think the number is like 32%, 35%, right? So 32 to 35% of the population agrees with the following statement. Uh, Immigration is out of control. We need to control our borders. Illegal migration needs to be cut down and all the other stuff, right? All the generic stuff. Okay, fair enough. Then if you ask them, okay, in your personal life, right? In your day-to-day living, does this affect you? The number falls to like 4 or 5%, right? Basically, you might as well call it a, what's it called? Margin of error, like a statistical error at that point, right? Because it's like 3 or 4% plus minus, right? So a lot of things are just not going to get done. And the reason for that is because it's all fucking LARP, it's cosplay, it's showbiz, whatever word we want to use. Maybe Sir Malcolm will give us a better word to describe it. But that's what it is. It's not, it's spectacle. It's spectacle, right? Like, you have all these guys, like what's the name of that stupid thing? Like the Remigration Summit or whatever it's called. Like, you had a bunch of these populist people do this like big thing. And I just saw it and I just laughed. This is just fucking like whatever, man. Like the Europeans are learning from the Americans. Like whenever the Americans want to do something, they do like a huge LARP and cosplay. I guess the Europeans are doing that as well, right? But none of this is gonna happen, right? Like, and Sir Cleveland, you're talking about like the jobs coming back and all that other stuff. That's if we wave the magic wand. But if we don't wave the magic wand, right?
Exactly.
We
I
all
don't,
know
when I
it's not
said
coming.
that, I know it's theoretical, it's beautiful, and if this was 1962, I'm sure it would be just fine. But it's
Yeah.
not. The jobs aren't coming back because those people aren't coming back that we had here that would have taken those jobs. So you know why I
Yeah.
like coming on this show so much? I don't know
Yeah.
anybody else who can speak or even hold a conversation. Other than the people here on this job, I have no one to talk to if I didn't come on this show. The rest of the population, they just make
Yeah.
clicks and grunts like a bunch of Hottentots. They
You should
can't
you
even
should go
speak.
to you should go to Unheard magazine and read Sir Malcolm's essays. They're pretty good. They're a pretty good way to. What you
Okay.
should
You
do
should
is
read the comments. They're very
you should read the
funny.
comment section, bro. That's what I was gonna say. God.
All right. I
Oh
haven't
man,
been there yet.
I
I'll
just
go over there.
go over there and read the comments. It's fucking hilarious. All of the different shades of cope that mankind can engage in, they're all underneath Sir Malcolm's Unheard essays. uh
So
Yeah,
Malcolm,
oh my
we're all
gosh.
developing like reputations. I've got somebody telling me, that I'm a midwit because I'm not supporting the only cause that matters, supporting the white race. Malcolm's just like I got a ways to go to come up to like, Malcolm in terms of like Cope critics and
Somebody
Ahnaf is
questioned.
going to be really, really tough to beat. But like,
yeah.
yeah, it does seem like
I pissed off all of Canada with that one, but like that's gonna be
Yeah.
no, but Sir Malcolm is Sir Malcolm. I'm not gonna beat Sir Malcolm because like what happened to Sir Malcolm was that a guy on the comments section he questioned the Swedishness of Sir Malcolm. He's like, this guy's a black. He's not a real Swede because he's black.
So our faith and humility comes from Christianity in the West and our belief in
Yeah,
something that is
yeah,
much higher than us, much better than us. That looking up above the government to that other standard, that's actually the secret magic. The white race without Christian faith, without real faith, is basically Australia. That's Australia. When people stop believing in God and they stop making that the thing that they use as their standard, their principle, so the government
yeah.
can't stand in and say they're God. That
Mhm.
is the secret. When you take Christian faith away from white people, all you got left is Australians. That's all it is.
Oh man, Sir Cleveland. Oh dear. Ouch.
Malcolm, you're very
But
idealistic. When I listened to you, I was thinking it's a young man. And he's right, everything else. And I'm thinking, yeah, he's right about that. That is the
oh no,
problem.
he's not idealistic. He's just very
Yeah,
kind. Sir Malcolm is much kinder than the three of us. That's why he's much more like
right.
measured in his speech. Yeah.
Having identified the
I,
problem correctly, then it will
yeah.
say, and then it's just a matter of implementing this and realizing that there has to be change. And I think, yeah, he's a young man. He doesn't know. as these guys are not going to implement that
No,
change.
I think he agrees with us. It's just that like when he's talking about the cultural revolution of America, he's just saying that it's gonna be a painful thing, right? Like so,
Yeah.
it's probably gonna
Oh,
happen over several
it's
centuries.
I
Yeah.
mean, no,
definitely going to be
my point
painful.
is like if after America collapses, like if you want to keep building big box stores and sort of expand the suburbs forever, I mean, good fucking luck.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, sure, you can try to just build more and more infrastructure that you have no money to maintain.
Right.
You're going to run into some pretty harsh limits if you attempt that. And at that point, eventually people are going to stop beating their head against the wall. They're going to say, okay, well, we can't build big box stores like our ancestors did. We
Yeah.
don't have the resources anymore.
I was
So
scouting urban ruins yesterday, a big shopping mall here in the outskirts of Virginia on the edge between here and Kentucky that's been abandoned. And I was thinking whether or not I'd make it in my next article on Voltco. But you can see, I mean, this place was big and it's all gone now. They've actually got weeds growing in the middle of the mall and there's a tree getting started there. And it looks like it was just deserted overnight, which historians say about so many of these societies. They say it just looks like it was abandoned overnight, Not much
yeah,
ceremony. Nobody made a dedication plaque. They just picked up and they left it there.
yeah,
And here we are again.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of the way it goes. And again, when you talk about these things, I mean, I've noticed this myself. Like for a lot of Americans, they look at a ruin like Detroit and then they go, "Oh, well, this is because of blacks."
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing they can imagine where it's like, yeah, okay, we used to have uh civilization and then civilization fell apart. Okay, so what's
Yeah.
what's the only possible reason? Well, it's
Yeah.
like black people being
And the
criminals.
Jews, yeah, and the Jews, Sir Malcolm, you got to bring them up as well.
I
Well,
never
no,
think to
that's
ask,
not what
well,
people blame
how
in this
come all the
case.
criminals, whether black or
yeah. The one answer to everything, it's like, well, why did I stub my toe? A Jew must have put something down here for me to stumble on. It's just like
yeah,
that becomes, and you know,
Well, the Detroit, no, 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 Detroit is awful because of the blacks, and that's the local situation. And what about the macro situation? Oh, well, the entire country is fucked because of the Jews, right? That's all it is, man. It's just like they blame other people, right?
simple
They got no agency of
solutions.
them. Simple
People
solution. They
want
blame other.
simple
Yeah.
solutions. It's just, it's the X. It's like, Rene Girard called it the scapegoat. Somebody has to be responsible for this. Complicated reasons you like and predicaments you can't solve are scary. Well, if we throw this Jew down a well, this will fix like the plague. That's easy. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah,
work,
that's basically.
but it is
Yeah.
easy.
when I lived in Los Angeles, there were whole street blocks there, even as far as Hollywood Boulevard. The power was out at night. The lights wouldn't come on. They said, "Oh, the city had a problem," and they put in these new devices, and they can't match it to the old grid, and a million excuses near the end, as always. Anyway, I was out there when I was working on my own street newspaper that I sold briefly in Los Angeles. Um, there was a guy who came out, and I thought he knew something about the electrical grid. When I was out there, I asked him, I said, "So what's the deal with those whole blocks being out? The lights right at night?" And he said, "Yeah, the blacks are becoming a real problem with those lights out." I'm thinking, whoa, I don't know if you got the
Oh,
causality right there. I said,
oh
the
man.
criminals are coming out at night because there's no lights there. So, I was thinking you should use your super white man powers to figure out how to fix those lights because that's a real problem.
Um,
Criminals know that there's cover under darkness. And I got to tell you, it's not just black guys out there. There's a lot of white guys ripping stuff off, including busting out car windows and stealing change because they know, hey, even if there was a camera out here, how are they going to film me? It's all dark. So,
Sir Malcolm, now that the big beautiful bill or whatever the fuck it's called, now that it's gonna cut Medicaid for 12 million people, how many weeks do we have to wait until the blacks get blamed for lack of health care in America?
I mean, I don't know. It's just like what I find interesting is, and I've tried this like on my own dime, to actually just try to like float the idea that okay, well, Detroit has fallen apart. Like you have all of these ruins. Well, I mean, this happens in Europe all the fucking time. Like this happens in the rest of the world, in every other part of the world. You will find ruins of like previous civilizations. I mean, they come and they go. They don't last forever. And it's genuinely hard to get people to sort of buy that idea. Like it's like a tractor beam in Star Wars, like from a Star Destroyer, like pulling you back to the same conclusion, which is it's an exogenous, in this case, that's kind of funny because I mean black people have been in the US for quite a long time. I mean, since the beginning. But like it's an exogenous thing, like this isn't supposed to happen. It's only happening because like there's a bad guy. Um and I mean no, sorry, like these things happen for inherent reasons. It's like you're not really growing older. Like your cell mitosis isn't slowing down because of black people or something. It's because that's something that's built into like the fundamentals of biological existence.
Oh, but
And
Sir
We
Malcolm,
could make
but Sir
Rome
Malcolm,
great again if only we got rid of those damn Germanics.
Yeah, they were a problem.
no, but
Back
Sir
then.
Malcolm, didn't you know the space age ended? Like the reason America hasn't gone back to the moon is because all that money, which should have gone to NASA, has gone to black people. Didn't you know that?
Unless there
yeah, I
are a
mean,
lot
I've
of
seen
black
people say
military
that, yes.
industrial contractors, I'd be really, really surprised by that. I mean, what
Yeah, no,
happened was when the American Empire it got corrupt, we got overextended, and we wound up a lot of money wound up getting funneled into the pockets of rich but incompetent people. We lost the space age, we lost the space age because you know it's really difficult to put a man on the moon. It takes a lot of resources. And so far as we can tell, there's not oil on the moon. There's not gold on the moon. There's really not a lot you could do on the moon that would make money. And, I suspect if Elon makes it to Mars, he'll discover the same thing.
yeah, I
But
mean the thing about, I mean, space, we've kind of talked about that before, and I think it's just such a like a boring
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um
yeah. Yeah.
it's like a boring sort of cultural obsession for the West. When
I don't believe
you
in it.
know
I don't believe
if
in
you
it at all. I did it one time, like I believed in the Easter Bunny. I
if you
think
play
it's a
like
big
video
distraction. That's
games,
all it is.
if you play like video games like Battlefield or Helldivers or something where it's like you have this arena you're supposed to play inside. What usually happens if you go outside it is like the screen goes dark or something or blurry, and then you get like a message saying, "What are you doing, soldier? Return to the battlefield immediately." And then if you don't, like in 10 seconds, you just get automatically killed by the game,
Hmm.
and you respawn within the bounds of the map. I mean, I kind of genuinely believe that space is just, God's way of having that same functionality where, I mean, like if you try to go to an asteroid, like the closest asteroid or whatever in like the inner asteroid belt, that's about as long a trip as the distance from the Earth to the sun. Um, and the moon is like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percentage point that distance. And that took like several days.
Hmm.
So you're basically like going around in this big nothing where there are no resources that are, remotely like valuable. And yeah, we have all of these other planets. Oh, by the way, if you travel at the speed of light, it's going to take like 1,000 years to reach them. So have fun. It's it's just such a stupid obsession. And what awaits us at the end, like some fucking rocks. Oh my God, like we got a new like foundation, like a new vein of copper. I mean, sorry, we have copper at home.
Malcolm, do you really believe they're going up there? You think that Elon Musk is a brilliant man that knows how to make rockets land on their own ass coming
No,
down?
I mean, of
You believe
course
you
we're
believe
not.
those shots are real? The most recent one, it goes up a mile, it hangs a right and heads out to sea. It's 62 miles short of orbit at that point. I don't know where it's going out there in the ocean, but I don't think it's going to outer space. You got to admit, there's nothing more ironic than when the good guy who's on your side turns out to be the biggest crook of them all, just like Anthony Fauci investigating the origins of that plague, right? So it's easy. He knows where the plague came from. He signed off on it and funded it. Anthony Fauci was in front of the whole country as America's doctor telling us, I'm going to fight to stop this thing and figure out where it came from. Nobody would know better where it came from than Anthony Fauci. He signed off illegally on the gain of function research. He just transferred it to China, where he thought he'd be safe. Nobody would find out. And he's the one that telling us it came from a fruit bat, or I don't know, a monkey jumped into the market and infected everybody. He knew how that thing got out of the lab, however it got out. He knew where it came from and how it was made. And I'm telling you, Elon Musk, in front of the whole country, with his anti-fraud investigation of USA and all that, what they're doing here is the biggest crooks are busting the little crooks. And in the end, USA would turn out to be small compared to the subsidy money that Elon Musk has gotten for his trips to outer space. As he says himself, the way you know it must be real is that it looks so fake. He said that on tape. And he said
I mean,
things like, sure,
yeah,
to look at it, you'd think maybe that's not a real shot. But you see, I'll give you a narrative to explain how it's actually real. It just looks like it's phony. So I'm not trying to sell anything to you, Malcolm. I don't think they're going to outer space. I think that this guy
it doesn't
Elon
matter
Musk
though.
smokes a lot of
Yeah,
dope.
but
He's
like,
got a lot of
yeah,
mistresses and a lot of children, illegitimate children he has to feed.
yeah, like Sir Cleveland, I think it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter whether Elon lands on Mars or if he doesn't land on Mars, right?
yeah,
We know that the human body cannot survive up there, right? Like the
right.
muscles and the bones, they start
Yeah,
deteriorating. Like we have people in the International Space Station, and they literally do 2, 3 hours of exercise a day. They lose bone and muscle mass. You're not gonna survive on Mars, right?
yeah,
Even if you fucking get there. If you don't get there, whatever, right? If you do get there, you're just gonna die, right? And like Sir Malcolm was saying, it's just a bunch of fucking rocks, man. Like,
yeah.
oh
Yeah, I
yeah, we
mean,
found platinum on Mars or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter, man. There's platinum on Earth.
Do you think
what
it's
what I'm
possible it could be even worse? And those rocks, they're probably from Devon's Island in Iceland, and they've never been up there to gather any rocks from Mars or the moon or
I
anywhere
think it doesn't
else.
matter. I think
yeah,
regardless of what's true or not, it doesn't matter. Like if
Yeah.
you go up there, we know that you die, basically, right? And so it's just like Sir Malcolm was using the video game analogy. That's basically what it is. It's like come
I'll
back.
just ask if you could
Yeah.
keep 99% of the money and put it in your pocket by spending 1% on some fake shots all dummied up of a Martian rover and all that. Imagine that type of scam. It would be the best one of all. Billions of dollars, and you just spend a little bit on a helium balloon shaped like the space shuttle and a supposed safety lock that consists of one bolt on the booster engine and all kinds of physical impossibilities that you can't seemingly explain how these things can work once you get up close shots. I don't know if you've ever seen a shot of the tweaker hut on the moon, but up close, the lunar lander looks so fake it's an embarrassment. I myself think that we're all victims of the worst criminal conspiracy that you could ever imagine. None of it's real. I don't think they even made it to the moon, even low Earth orbit. I'm starting to think low Earth orbit's not possible. Satellites, I think, are long-term mylar balloons up there, and even it's possible direct energy weapons are either reflected off of those or mounted on those, but they don't even have direct energy weapons in orbit. And that means both Trump and Musk know what's really going on. And rather than choosing to tell the American people, I reckon they must be getting a kickback of their own from all that money. So Elon Musk will always be remembered as the hero who reformed all the fraud stealing from America. And I reckon he's just the king of the crooks, doing what crooks do, which is turn in their confidants and their allies if necessary to avoid going to jail themselves. Still there if you hung up?
No, we're here.
Yeah, no,
I'm
no,
here.
no.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that it doesn't matter. It like even if you have a person who doesn't believe in space or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter because like whether you like to believe in space or you don't like to believe in space, it's superfluous, right? It's like whenever these people who do believe in space, they tell you we're gonna mine the asteroid and get the
Yeah.
platinum or gold or whatever,
And it
right?
is
They're
a religion.
selling.
It's a religious faith. People in fedora hats, atheists and secularists,
Yeah,
dreaming
yeah.
about their
But
Buck
just
Rogers
to finish my
costume.
point, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I understand, Sir Cleveland. Just to finish my point, just to finish my point.
Yeah.
When they sell you this stuff, right? Nobody does the mathematics for it, right? Nobody tells you how much it's going to cost, how much it would take to get up there, and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
Even if you, yeah, like all this stuff about Mars and Elon, and what did Elon say? We're going to have to put human life on space or whatever. Like, I think Sir Malcolm is correct when he says this is like a boring topic because I think there's something deeper than this topic, and the deeper topic is the fear of death, right? What this is that these people understand that their civilization is dying
Yeah.
and they want to kind of have this outlet. And
Exactly.
one of those
Replacement
outlets,
religion. I'm going to bury
yeah, no,
myself in
no,
the
no, no,
pyramid.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not my point though. My point is that there's three main religions, right? The first one is the space religion. Mankind's going to be up there, and therefore the Faustian West will live on in Mars or
Frosty,
whatever.
right. Yeah.
The second one is the religion of like infinite energy, the fusion power people. They still kind of exist, but they're kind of dead. And the last one is the one which is like super hyped right now, which is like the AI religion, the religion of like, these chatbots and these like large language models. And look, they do some interesting things, but these things are somehow going to, catastrophe at the last moment. Like Sir Malcolm was saying, America needs to learn how to stop building the big boxers or whatever. Well, there's people in America who believe, and I kid you not, that a bunch of these like large language models are going to miraculously give them access to some knowledge which will enable them to continue building like this forever, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's been like how many years since these LLMs came out?
Yeah.
The only thing they're good at is like software stuff and whatever, right? They have not like Sir Bullfrog Patriarch, who's on the Telegram group. He's like, name me one example in which manufacturing, production, or whatever has been improved by these LLMs. Zero,
They
right?
are going to use them to
And
rule over us. They're going to say the LLM told me this, and it's the supreme expert authority on this subject.
I
So
don't think
you
it's
should
gonna
all
be.
do
I
as I
don't think.
say.
Yeah, but I don't think it's gonna be that exciting. I think what's gonna happen is people are gonna become solipsists. They're just gonna be like, they're gonna open up the LLM. The LLM will say XYZ, and then they'll just loop into it. Basically, I don't think these people are gonna quote unquote rule over anyone. It's just gonna be anarchy, basically, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think all
yeah.
the funding going into it is the government is thinking we've lost so much respect for our own intelligence. The public doesn't believe that we're wise heads anymore. So now we'll pour a lot of money into the AI and we'll say from now on, the AI is calling the shots. And all you commoners and little people, you should still follow us and trust us as the authority. We're going to tell you what to do. Turn in all your guns and start to eat these mealworms. So they in that way they can retain the control that they have now and the same plan, which is to reduce expectations, to reduce people's hope for the future, and crowd us into this socialist society in the 15-minute cities, in the little pods we sleep in, and it's the same outcome, but they'll use the AI to tell us. But this time, it's at the hands of an AI, so you want to trust that thing, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all kind of speculative because none of this is gonna happen.
I hope not.
Exactly.
I hope not.
Like the only thing that's interesting about space, for example, is just that if you ask people to describe, okay, so what's the big to do about? It's like we're gonna go to a place that's like way colder than Antarctica, doesn't have a biosphere, doesn't have, a magnetosphere, so you have no protection from cosmic rays, and there's no oxygen. So we're gonna go to a place that's way worse than Antarctica, and we're gonna build a fucking copper mine, and we're gonna live in a place again way worse than Antarctica, and we're gonna mine copper. And I'm like, okay, well, we have copper on Antarctica. Why don't you go there? Like that's, there's
Good
air to
question.
breathe,
Really good question.
and
Yep.
you don't you know, have to deal with a completely unshielded massive
Exactly.
nuclear
It
reactor
just
called the
makes
sun.
sense. That makes sense.
So
And there's tons of copper on the ocean floor, tons of it.
yeah, so if it's copper you're after, just go to fucking Antarctica,
Exactly.
man.
Yeah.
And then they'll say first, oh well, we can't do that. That's illegal. And I'm like, yeah, well, just change the laws, dude. No, we can't do that. We have to go to Mars. And it's like,
Yeah. In
this
our
is
moon
this
rocket
is
at huge expense to get some
yeah.
copper when just a little effort, copper's, within 10 miles of where I'm sitting right now. And there's plenty of it. But for some reason, you want to go to Mars to get your copper.
It's an
Nuts.
obsession. It's a
Yeah.
cultural. That's all it is. It's a cultural civilizational obsession. It's the fear of death. That's all it is. It's the fear of death, right? They want to. They like Faustian civilization. They don't want to admit it, but they've come to the realization that they're dying right now. It's like the 68-year-old grandpa who realizes he's about to die, and he realizes that he spent his whole life doing all this other shit, right?
Yeah.
And he's not going to be remembered, and he's going to disappear. How do I make my legacy? Well, my legacy is going to be Mars. My
Yeah.
legacy is going to be robots.
Yeah.
My legacy is going to be fusion power. Like that's
100%,
where
100% agreement. That's exactly the way I feel about it. Yeah.
So I don't even see it as an interesting thing to talk about. I'm just like, whether it's actually true or not, it's irrelevant because we know that these things are like physically impossible to do. We know fusion power is physically impossible. We know that space or whatever the fuck, like Sir Malcolm was saying, it's colder than Antarctica and all the other, it's physically impossible. And we know that these LLMs or whatever the fuck, like there's a limit
That's
that
right.
they're going to run into.
I would care less. So if they want to pretend they're going to Mars,
but
why does it cost $4 trillion to pretend you're going to Mars? If the checks weren't real, if they weren't cashing the check, I could care less about what they plan to do.
No, but just to like finish my point, like the AI stuff, especially the fucking AI stuff, and like Trump spending all this money on AI and like doing the crypto scams and fucking this stuff. 2030 to 2035, sometime during that time period, the language learning models are going to exhaust all of the web pages on the internet, right? And it's law of diminishing returns. You're going to be feeding enormous amounts of electricity to these things, right? And then what do? They can't do anything because like they're going to read all the content on the internet, and whatever they spit out, it's going to be this aggregative nonsense, right?
You're right.
And like and like Apple and
you understand AI.
Yeah, and so like Apple and a few of these guys, they got a bunch of these Iranian scientists, and the Iranian scientists basically said, look, if you give the AI unlimited energy input and unlimited like tokens and whatever, and you give it a brand new problem, right, which it hasn't seen, which it hasn't aggregated through thousands of web pages online to then quote unquote solve, it just falls apart immediately. Even if you give it unlimited. The thing with a human is that if you tell a human, I'm going to give you this puzzle, it's never been invented before, you're going to be the brand new guy to see it, even if he fucking fails, he's going to keep going until he's, somehow figures out a way, or he's going to fail, right? He's either going to succeed or he's going to fail. But the thing with the AI is it just gives up immediately, right? And so all these people, they're putting all their chips on the AI stuff. They should really read that white paper Apple came up with, which is, I think it's called Illusion of Intelligence or something, right? But like, this is not artificial intelligence. This is not even like cleverness. You can't even call it intelligence. It's just repetition. It's pattern recognition. It's aggregation. And above all else, it's just like, it's a mirror. It's solipsism. Like the AI stuff, it's just ethno-solipsism. It's the ethno-solipsism of the Faustian man, right? Solipsism is not just something an individual person engages in. Solipsism is also something a civilization can engage in, right? And that's what we're seeing right now. We're not seeing like, oh my gosh, enough,
Right.
artificial super intelligence is about to come in and it's going to conquer the world. No, man, what we're seeing is the 68-year-old grandpa, like in dementia, dying. He's dreaming and daydreaming about fucking AI. That's what we're seeing.
If they're serving the purpose, the AI that the stone oracles did in the old world, where they have a
Yeah.
secret compartment hidden inside a giant stone head in the temple, a man creeps into there, they ask it questions and he answers, and it's something on the order of send more young nubile girls to the temple, sort of a thing. Is that's the advice of
Yeah.
the gods. And the ruling class is going to use the AI to say, give more money to the ruling class and they'll solve the problems for you. It's the same old wine in a new bottle. So I reckon, if anything, AI has to be throttled back. In a lot of places where it's used, it should be outlawed. Some things should have to be done by humans because otherwise the AI will be able to kill 1 million people with a bad decision, and we don't want that. So I really think even at the beginning now, AI has got to be throttled back in the things it's used for. But I
It's gonna
reckon,
happen. Yeah, but it's gonna happen normally, and the reason it's gonna happen
yeah,
is because they cannot produce the energy and materials needed to do all this,
I
right?
was
Like
just
they're
about to
already
say that. Yeah, I was
like you
just about to
literally
tell you that.
yeah, like Sir Kenaz and myself. I don't know if you watch the show regularly, Sir Malcolm, but I did the numbers and I looked at some white papers that they put out. But basically, it's like 500 terawatt hours of electricity on the high end. You can take the smaller number, 300 terawatt hours, right? Okay, so in 5 years, America has to increase by 300 terawatt hours electricity production. Okay, American electricity production has hovered around 4,100 and 4,300 for the last 25 years, 25, 30 years. It actually stagnated sometime in the early 1990s. It's not going to happen, bros. Like, this fucking shit is not going to happen, right? Like, what's actually going to happen is, as the steel production goes down, as the copper production goes down, as all this other stuff goes down, right? And then they tell people, okay, that all these medical services and all these other essential things, public utilities and goods or whatever. Yeah, we're gonna divert all of that shit to fucking AI, right? We're gonna do electricity that way. They're just gonna like people are gonna shoot them, man. Like that's basically what's gonna happen, right? We're already seeing now that the bill has passed of one big beautiful bill, whatever people call it, and people are gonna lose their Medicaid. I fully expect Luigi Mangione style copycats like popping up all over the place over the next several months, right? Like that's the future of America. The future of America is not like, the AI overlord dominates us. The future of America is going to be people engaging in the grift and all these other scams and whatever. And then the resources are scarcer and scarcer. And everyone else gets upset that you're taking away their healthcare and all this other stuff. And they basically kill you for it, basically, right? And they're going to do it not because, oh my gosh, Americans have suddenly grown a spine all of a sudden and they've become rebel. No, it's because of basic self-interest. If I don't shoot you in the face, because you stole my healthcare, I'm gonna die, basically, right? And that's basically what I see happening.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have to head out pretty soon because of some
Oh, no
like
worries.
incompetence on my part with some scheduling conflicts. Um,
No worries.
but yeah, I mean, damn, I just got sent the message that Tucker did an
Interview,
interview
yeah.
with the president of Iran.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we're at, by the way, where it's like that is seen as the most dangerous thing you can do. I mean, we
Yeah.
used to mock like the Soviet Union and so on for, oh, well, they don't allow, freedom of information, unlike us in the West. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just kind of parodic at this point. Um, but yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to watch and see what happens. I think that like anyone sort of thinking, oh well, the elites have these huge evil plans. Yeah, I'm sure they do, but like no plan survives first contact with the enemy, as the saying went in World War II. Um, you can have a plan, but do you have the ability to actually implement it? And the American ruling class does not. Like that is just a
No.
fact, Jack. Like the problem right now is that all attempts to actually sort of, I mean, they can't even pass a budget. Like they had to do like this stupid reconciliation bill that they barely managed to get through. And I mean, if you can't even pass a budget, like you're not gonna do it. Like
Yeah.
it's over, man.
Yeah. If you're at that point where like, you know, like what was it? Massey had those 10 people and like 2 or 3 votes failed and it took like 4 days to pass the budget. Yeah. Nothing's gonna happen. Just like
Yeah. Anyway,
So
I actually sorry, this kind of I forgot about this
no worries.
higher
No
appointment that
worries.
I had, and I was just reminded of it
We
by
can
my
make this a weekly thing, so we don't have to make it like a 4 hour show. We can make it like 90 minutes to 2 hours on a regular basis. That might actually be good.
yeah. We'll sort of hash it out later. But yeah,
Sounds good.
thanks for today.
Thank you, Sir Malcolm. All right, see ya.
Thank you. Take care. And
Yeah.
with this, I think, it's probably a good time to bring this to a close. Everybody, thank you for coming. Thank you, Sir Malcolm. Thank you, Sir Ahnaf. Thank you, Sir Cleveland. And to all my detractors, all my haters, everybody that's made us, everybody who's laughed when we told us things are going to get worse before they get better, if they get better. Well, here's our response.
Your soul is mine. Fate